There is a city in Illinois that once held 20,000 people. That makes it bigger than medieval London, bigger than Paris, bigger than any city in North America for the next 600 years. It had streets, plazas, a pyramid larger than any in Egypt by volume, a wall made from 20,000 cedar trees, markets, neighborhoods, a calendar built into the earth itself, and then in a single human lifetime, every single person left. No war, no plague we can find, no written word explaining why. The city sat in perfect silence for 200 years before a European ever saw it. And then it sat in silence for 200 more years while America built suburbs on top of it. This is the story of Cahokia, the American city that the world forgot, and the question that has haunted every archaeologist who ever dug a shovel into its soil. Where did they go? Let's go back to the year 1050 CE. The Mississippi River floodplain, just east of what is now St. Louis, is nothing remarkable. Small farming villages, a few hundred people scattered across the wetlands. And then, in what archaeologists call the Big Bang, something happens. In a span of perhaps 25 years, the population explodes. 10,000 people, then 15,000, then 20. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows what drew them here. They begin to build. The earthen mounds start small, then they grow. Monk's Mound, the central structure, rises to 100 feet. Its base covers 14 acres. By any measure, it is one of the largest human-made structures on Earth. Surrounding it, 120 more mounds, each one precisely placed. Plazas large enough to hold the entire population. Cedar log walls, a palisade requiring 20,000 trees, encircling the ceremonial core. Cahokia, at its peak, is a genuine city, a capital. Possibly the center of an empire we'll never fully understand. And it's all gone by 1350. Wasn't war. There's no evidence of mass violence at the city's end. It wasn't plague. No mass graves of the kind that signal epidemic disease. The dominant theory for most of the 20th century was deforestation, that the Cahokians chopped down so many trees for construction and fuel that they triggered catastrophic flooding and erosion, making the land uninhabitable. That theory sounded right. It was accepted for decades. Then in 2021, a team at the University of Illinois ran soil stability tests around Monk's Mound. The soil didn't show catastrophic erosion until the 1800s, centuries after the city was gone. The dominant theory was wrong. But here's the thing that really bothers historians. In the 19th century, when American settlers first began seriously studying the mounds, they had a problem. The mounds were clearly built by a sophisticated civilization. But the prevailing ideology of manifest destiny couldn't accept that indigenous people had built them, so they invented an explanation. The mound builders were a lost white race, maybe Vikings, maybe ancient Israelites. Definitely not the ancestors of the Native American tribes living next door. This myth was so powerful that it influenced federal policy. It was used to justify taking Native American land because the real builders were already gone, replaced by inferior peoples. The myth was formally debunked by the 1890s. But by then, the damage was done. And 45 of Cahokia's mounds had already been bulldozed for farmland, suburbs, and a drive-in movie theater. So let me tell you what archaeology has actually found. At Mound 72, excavators discovered something that stopped them cold. Beneath the mound, a mass burial. 53 women aged 15 to 25, arranged in precise rows. No signs of violence, no trauma on the bones. Nearby, a man buried on a platform of 20,000 shell beads, arranged in the shape of a falcon. The interpretation that has lasted 40 years. Ritual sacrifice. The women died so this man, possibly a god king, could be properly honored in death. But here's the question no one has satisfactorily answered. Why would a civilization sacrifice 53 of its own young women? What were they afraid of? A newer interpretation says the burial patterns suggest these women were high-status individuals, not victims, but willing participants in a ceremony we no longer understand. Both interpretations are disturbing, and neither one is proven. What we do know, by 1200 CE, Cahokia was in decline, population dropping, the palisade wall rebuilt twice, which means something was threatening the people inside. Here is the part that almost no one has reported. The story that archaeology told for 80 years was this. Cahokia was abandoned by 1350 and sat empty until European contact in the 1500s. That made it a tidy tragedy, a complete story. But in 2021, A.J. White at UC Berkeley published a study analyzing coprostanol, a molecule produced in the human gut, preserved in lake sediment near the site. The levels of human waste in the sediment don't drop to zero in 1350. They drop dramatically, then rise again by around 1500 CE. Cahokia was reoccupied by someone. We don't know who. Which means the story isn't a tragedy with a clean ending. It's a story with a chapter we haven't read yet. And here's what that means. Every tribe in the region, the Osage, the Quapaw, the Ho-Chunk, the Potawatomi, has traditions and oral histories that connect their ancestors to the great mound cities of the Mississippi. The people didn't disappear. They scattered. They reformed. They became other peoples. The city died. The civilization didn't. So what happened to Cahokia? The honest answer is, we still don't know. Not completely. What we do know is this. Before the Pilgrims, before Columbus, before any European set foot in North America, there was a city here, a real city, with real people who built something extraordinary. And when the city died, something happened that is almost unique in human history. The people who built it and the civilization they represented were erased so completely from the American story that we built suburbs on top of their monuments without noticing. The mounds are still there. You can visit them. You can stand on top of Monk's Mound and look out over the same Mississippi River floodplain those builders looked out over 1,000 years ago. And if you're standing there in the right light at the right time of year, the land still tells you something. It says someone was here first, and they built something we still don't fully understand. The question isn't just what happened to Cahokia. The question is, why did America need to forget it?